You're live.
What's going on, everybody out there in Symmetry Nation? So good to be joining here today on Wednesday. Nice to see you. George and Janet Matthews there. We got B-Dubs. We've got, well, we lost George and Janet. We're going to see George and Janet on the national call for sure. So many exciting things coming up, guys. We're going to be talking about conference promotion on the national call, all of the exciting updates that we're going to be getting from Brandon and Casey, and several members of your own advisory board will be joining us for some exciting stuff. And B-Dubs, you've been over there hard at work this week on conference, buddy. What's going on?
It's been a really great week. We've not only been hard at work on conference, that's been my big rock for the last few weeks here, but had our quarterly offsite for, or sorry, not offsite, our quarterly rocks planning meeting on site, but we effectively locked ourselves in a room for 2 days with no phones and found that to be very effective. So sure the guys will mention that, but great exec team meeting. And yeah, you know, it's pushing hard in the same direction right now and trying to make sure that we keep conference in view. It's going to be incredible. And yeah, all good.
Yeah, anything, any spoiler alerts you want to share with us? Talk to us about any special guests, anything that we're not supposed to share since Brandon and Casey aren't on just yet?
You know, that's a great question, and you're the 15th person to try to get to break discretion and discipline again. But as a growing leader, I would say I'm going to use discretion and discipline and not give away any more tidbits. Although I will tell you this, I was just on this morning with one of our guests that we'll be promoting pretty soon here. And he's working with us internally on upskilling and upgrading some of our internal content. I'll just leave it that way. And so that's going to be, I believe, revolutionary and needle moving for our business. So incredible expertise that he's bringing to the table. And we're having a great time learning from him and with him. So that'll come soon. I'm not going to be that guy, though, to tell you who it is.
Nice. Well, we stay tuned, guys, for the national call. Going to be some cool announcements made. Some of that behind the scenes stuff is going to be shared by Brandon and Casey. I know we're all looking forward to that. And but want to jump into the builders call today. We've asked Gus to come on, guys. It's an individual here that's been not only an agency director, but prolific top producer, an individual that you spend any time with, you just go away feeling so much happiness and joy and excitement about the business and what you're where we're all heading together. And I had the privilege of talking to Gus a little bit last week. Gus, you were out exploring Puerto Rico, I think, right?
Yes, sir. We were actually. My wife's originally from there, and we were visiting some friends. They had their class reunion, and so we took the opportunity to travel across the country and just see some of the majestic coastlines and incredible views that they have, and some adventures as well in there.
Nice. So did you have some good food though, right?
Yes, we did. That we did. I added like an extra 5 pounds in a few days.
Well, Gus, we appreciate you being on and talking to us today. I think it's a very well-deserving individual that is no stranger to the weekly leaderboards. You're constantly leading the way in your own personal production and your ability to serve families, but also growing a significant organization and well on a way to a very near future 120. And we just wanted to be able to have you on today, talk a little bit about how you balance both of those activities, how you keep the main thing with so many opportunities to become distracted. And I just really appreciate you jumping on and pouring into us today, Gus.
Well, I want to thank you, Todd, for allowing me the opportunity to share some time with everyone here. I want to thank obviously the Brian and the owners of the company as well, because without their continuous investment, I certainly don't think that we'll be having the results that we're having. And that comes from not only the lead standpoint, but the technology standpoint, right? With Quality U, with Summit, with the recruiting Max Days program. I mean, it's been phenomenal. and a game changer for us as well. So thank you guys for that.
And Gus, real quick, let me just say one thing about you. I was just huddling up with Spivey right before our call. I remember way back in the day when I literally was first working as an outside coach consultant, working with you and doing Best Fit and 5 Voices. And those of you that are around and you know what those things are, you were a guardian pioneer. And I always remember not only the way that you brought challenge and really were able to pick up and sort of sift through everything that was being said and provides, some good challenge. Just there was always something that I was learning and taking away from what you were saying, because you have such a gift to make the complex in the business simple and actionable. And that execution, again, we're excited to hear about this relentless pursuit of duplication from you, because I know you've got not only the experiences now, but the expertise and the ability to make it practical. So we definitely value you, and you've had a long track record of pouring into folks. So bring it on.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Yeah, and I think it has a lot to do with that, from the coaching that we received from you to understanding better and how to utilize those voices, right? And everything you've taught us. It's been really, and by the way, that's what I wanted to share with everyone. It's I guess, share a bit of my mistakes early on in their career. Heck, mistakes I continue to make now for the sake of hoping that some people might avoid them. And if they don't, because mistakes are good, by the way, if you're brand new builder, we want to make mistakes. A brand new producer, let's go make those mistakes. Just get them out of the way as quickly as possible, right? But my hope is that as I share some of these things with you, that you're able to have some tangible takeaways so that we could just go out and make those mistakes early on and focus on what needs to be done to be able to get the results that we want, right? So I appreciate you, Brian, for sure, for that. But yeah, my name is Gus Villagran, guys. I'm direct to Nate Alford in the Smith hierarchy. And when I first got started here, I made the mistake of delaying building an agency. So that's mistake number one that I share with you. And if you guys know Nate, I mean, he is a master at recruiting and building. And so right away from the first conversation interaction that I had with him, he asked me if I wanted to build. I said yes. And once I got licensed, I got so caught up in the production, and it had a lot to do with the place that I was coming from. I had just lost the business. I had 6 months where there was no income coming in, about $7,500 a month in bills. And because of the way that this industry pays us, it gets real comfortable, to just produce, right? Because it was what I needed at the time. And I lost sight of the buildings aspect of the business. And so long story short, it took me about 6 months to really start hiring folks, which is mistake number one. I delayed it, and it wasn't until like about month 8 that I started gaining some traction. So my recommendation to all of you guys, or ladies, right, looking to build, is don't make that mistake. And just like Brian was talking about, I am a guardian, so I'm into numbers. And so I analyzed all this. Nate and I sat down after my first year here, and yeah, it was top producer, accolades, rookie writer, all this stuff, but no agency. And I remember looking at the numbers that year. I remember, going to work, of course, after that 6 months, 7 month, 8 month hiring folks. And then we tracked our numbers. Fast forward to our second year here, we had double-digit growth numbers. And when I looked at and traced the growth factor that we had to that initial 6 months, it had cost our agency about $240,000 in production from delaying building day one. So, just to be able to touch on some of the tangible things that we're going to talk about right now, if you're looking to take notes, what has assisted us now as far as having the results we're having and getting, becoming number one base shop in the whole entire company, is having, number one, I would say, practicing auto suggestion. You know, Todd, this is something that I read, you know, from Think and Grow Rich and a bunch of other books, right? And it's something that I've implemented in my life, my personal life. I implemented in my personal income. I implemented with my social, you know, environment. I implemented, you know, I have suggestions as far as like what I wanted, as far as my relationship with, you know, God and my spiritual side. But I never really implemented it into my builder side, into the business building aspect. And so I started implementing that about a year ago. And I wrote down that I am great. I basically writing affirmations, you know, that I was grateful for the new business partnerships that we were formulating and their commitment to excellence, you know, that continue to build our business. And I will read these things, and you know, a few others, right? But I will read these things, and I still do, every night and every morning. Every night and every morning. Every night before we go to bed, every morning when I first wake up, you know. So I started writing those, practicing those affirmations on the building side. We've also started working on getting the whole entire team to work cohesively and really working on getting everyone to move as a unit, as a single unit. Because what we notice is that when we were hiring folks, Todd, is we were getting people to start producing, right? So the idea was to be able to get them to get through that step. And of course, you know, everything that you guys have done in terms of Equality U and the new fast track, the summit, I mean, my goodness, you know, unbelievable, game changer for sure. It made it a lot easier. But what we've noticed is that in the past, we used to hire someone, and as soon as they got a little traction on the production side, as soon as they got a little traction on the builder side, if they were looking to build, we would kind of let them be. And what I notice is that information gets disseminated big time. It gets diluted, basically. And it's kind of like, how many of you remember, you know, in school, we used to play this game telephone, right? Or whisper down the lane. And I remember in my classroom, you know, when we used to play this, there was someone that would whisper something in someone's ear, and it would kind of go down each person, right, from classmate to classmate to classmate. By the time it got to the end of the room, it was something completely different, and usually perverted, by the way. Yeah, maybe it was just my class, I don't know. But so when I started realizing that, what we did and we implemented right away is we started implementing a system to where anyone that we recognized that wanted to build right away, as soon as we hired them, we will have them hop on a first interview call with that top recruiter in the organization, with the idea of having them just observe and listen to what that person was saying, how they were conducting that interview, the expectations that were being set right away. And so we started that process where that person will listen in, and you'll find, you know, what we found is it gets to a point when that individual, that new person, wants to start interrupting. Right? Like maybe we're having that conversation with that new prospective agent, and they're going, "Oh, Gus, and you should tell them about this," or right. And so when they start getting to that point, now we start collaborating with them. You know, it's all stuff that Brian, you know, Williams talked to us about, and we basically have them conduct like a portion of it while we're also conducting the other portion of it, or that top recruiter. So we start collaborating, and what we do is we graduate them to the point where they handle that first interview while that top recruiter listens in. And when we recognize that that person has completely replicated themselves, so to speak, based on what we're doing at the moment, then we let them go and we start a whole new layer or a whole new process where now the second interview process, they are involved in their new recruit looking to build, listening to them is involved as well. So now we end up with 4 people on that phone call, if that makes sense. And that has helped us tremendously, because instead of people going out there and creating their own system or their own process or figuring out what they needed to say, now we're all saying the same thing. We're all doing the same thing. Again, following the whole McDonald's, the cookie cutter system, right? McDonald's recipe, if you will. And so we graduate those folks into, once they feel comfortable with the second interview process, once they, feel like they have enough knowledge, they start contributing to that one. So now we have the person that's already handling their first interview, hiring someone that is listening to them conduct that first interview, and having those two folks listening to these second interviews being performed by a top recruiters. And until they feel comfortable enough to start collaborating, and eventually we graduate them to where they're doing, we're observing, and then they're on their own conducting the same. We move on and do again with our game plan process. And again, guys, I mean, ladies, check with your upline key leader, manager. But what we found is that in the past, and then again, one of the things that I believe has hurt us as far as the growth that we could have had earlier on, is that we just kind of let it be, or maybe just assumed that, and you know what happens, right, when we do that, but we just assumed that because they were already producing, because they already have that one or two agents, that they were good to go. And it is not the case. And I know there's a lot of agent mentors out there. There's a lot of assistants, right, recruiting. But, I come, Todd, from running 19 years, running a nutrition store, retail business. And I had store managers, assistant managers that I trusted with the keys to the business, right? And to train and manage and scheduled the employees and stuff. However, I noticed that whenever they would train and hire someone new to be able to make those smoothies, or be able to, do the wraps that we were doing, or that whatever healthy food and meals, there was always something that was missing. There was an ingredient, or maybe, that protein shake required 1.5 scoops of that protein, and then all of a sudden they'll add 2. And which obviously, as a business owner, it costs me, the business owner. So I realized early on, in that career, in that business, that I needed to be involved in one way or another, because sometimes that store manager still needed to be retrained. Because what I found is that we're great as human beings, we're phenomenal at coming up with new ideas, new concepts, but unfortunately some of us are way too creative. And then we might go into implementing something completely off system when Symmetry has already a process in place. And especially with all the tools that are now available with, Quality U and Summit, if we're not utilizing those, if we're not making sure that everybody's being sent in that direction so that we're operating as one unit, which I believe is what's going to help Symmetry now become a $1 billion company, we're dropping the ball, right? So that is some of the things, that we as a team, we've been implementing. We have also worked quite a bit on making sure that we ask for permission from these folks that are looking to build, to be able to have those adult-like conversations when they're not doing the necessary things, right? Because even though we're building a volunteer army, the reality is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Todd, but I mean, if people already knew how to do this, they would have been doing it years ago, because it is one of the most, in my opinion, it is the most incredible opportunity, financial opportunity out there in the US today, period. This industry is phenomenal. So if people already knew how to do what we're doing, then they would need us in the first place, right? And so unfortunately, a lot of times, in our case, we used to kind of throw these folks over the shoulders. We figured, hey, they have the 2 agents. They're already producing 15, 20 grand a month. They're good on their own. And it's not the case, because we know there's attrition. We know that there's people that are going to quit, and then there's going to be people, so maybe that person with the 1 or 2 agents, they had one that quit. The other one, was maybe doing, part-time work. And so therefore, now this new person is demotivated. They don't know what they're doing. And then just repeat the process of maybe conducting a first interview that might not necessarily be up to par to what we know is required to be able to hire that right caliber individual. So early on in our conversations, we've implemented, a series of questions where we just ask them, just go, hey, listen, so what is it that you want to get out of working with us so that we could show you how to get it? And once they tell us, we formulate a game plan, a work plan around their availability, their schedule, what they want. And we asked them, we said, hey, listen, Sally, Joe, Susie, is it okay that by the time, we commit to this, when you get your license, once you're ready, or their license, right? Is it all right for us to hold you accountable to these things that you said you want? In other words, if you're supposed to be able to have, and again, we do it for both production and I know this is a builder's call, but we kind of have incorporated both of those where we make sure that we are holding them accountable for what they say they wanted to do on the production side and what they say they wanted to do on the builder side. And if they're not doing it, we have, that agent mentor that is reaching out and making sure that we're having those hard conversations, because obviously the trust has been developed with them enough to where if they gave us permission, now we're going to go and have that conflict resolution, right? Utilizing all of our tools and find out, hey, what is happening? You said you were going to do, 15 appointments this week. You only have 9. Why is that? Right? You said that you were going to have 10 new conversations with first interviews, and you only had 5. What's missing? What can we do? Right? And having that accountability has really, really helped us tremendously. I also got to give credit to Melissa Weigel. We had one of our agency owners, Gary Bender, bring her on board, and we were not implementing huddle up calls at the time yet. This was maybe about 7 months ago or so, or maybe a little longer. And what happened was that Melissa got on the call and she started sharing with us everything that she was doing during those huddle up calls. And it was like an awakening for me, because she was just being very stern about, having that business-like conversation. And then I realized that sometimes, because we want to love on everyone, sometimes we allow them to kind of buy their own excuses. And that's what I realized on my behalf too, is, I had to just stop making the excuses, Todd. I had to stop making the excuses on why the agency wasn't growing and why we didn't have the numbers that we wanted, because the only person that was stopping me was me. And so I don't know if this is, this is something that is helping some folks out there.
Absolutely, Gus. And I would say to that too, how early on in the process, how much do you typically watch a new individual come along and struggle before you are bringing that challenge and having that direct conversation, holding them accountable to what they've already agreed they wanted you to hold them accountable to?
Well, if it's someone that we're working with directly, it's day one. It's really, day one. It's just one of those things where, I get this vision, Todd, where if we're talking about an infant, right, and this infant is a newborn, let's say, and I just brought him home, they're dependent on me, and I think this it goes back to a conversation that I had early on with Nate Offord. I remember when Nate first recruited me, he asked me this, and it blew my mind. Like I couldn't understand why he would even ask something like that. And he said, Gus, if we're going to work together, I'm going to need a year of your life. And I was like, whoa, that's a big ask, right? But I don't even know what I'm about to start doing. And he elaborated, of course, we have a relationship for years now. And he said, look, because I told him, I started bringing my excuses, right? I started saying, well, look, Nate, I can't commit to a year. I don't know if I'm going to be making money. I don't know if how this is going to work. And he goes, no, don't worry about that, Gus. You are going to make money because I know you. it's going to work for you. What happens is I also know that you get distracted fairly easily. And also, you tend to just start, like enjoying yourself too soon. And so is that whole instant gratification thing, right? So I said, well, okay, sure. And so we did, I committed to that, to a year to him. And then the year went by, and then he told me, Gus, listen, now we need another 4 more. So a total of 5. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, now, your commitment is to the people that you're working with. Because, after a year, I was making good income, right? And results vary, but I was doing well. And so, it has to do with full engagement from day one, Todd. I really poured my heart, my soul into these folks. And I, depending on what they say they want to do. I mean, I understand that people might not be as good as some of us in sales. Some people might not be as good as us in building. But if I am engaged, or if I get them in contact with someone that knows what they need to do because they're having the results and they've proven it, now we have the ability to take this infant and wean them and, treat them well, right? To be able to raise them to be a productive human being. And that's what we have implemented here. And we made it a non-negotiable really for them to be in all those huddle ups and those training calls and those, if it's a first interview, second interview, based on what they said they wanted to do. And so if someone is not showing up to those calls, if they're, coming up with reasons why they're not showing up to the interviews or the second interviews, we just, we have that conversation day one.
Another good thing that you've always been able to do is been able to help individuals in that balance between personal production and building. Any key advice on how do you stay on top of both, and how do you coach your builders in doing the same themselves?
Okay, yes, sir. We, again, what we have really worked on is making sure that we recognize the talent and skills of each one of our producers and our builders. And we have taken the brand new person, we figure out what voice they order they have, right, and who they'll relate to better. And we're bringing these folks, where it doesn't matter if they're 2 months old, we're bringing those folks to teach and talk about that. So we, instead of just being, Nate or myself or Gary Bender or Manny Garola, our newest agency owner, going out there and doing all the talking, we're bringing the people that are out there doing and producing and getting those results to get in front of these folks. So if it's on the production side, we work on that with that individual, right? So we get that new person to learn from them. If it's on the builder side, we take a number one builder and we do the same. That way we create that environment where that new person has access to 100% of, again, 100% of the information of what's working for us, right? Like, obviously, again, check with your upline to see what system they utilize, and making sure that information is not being diluted.
Very good. Very good. And what about, Gus, thinking about the concept of writing down those affirmations? I love that, and reading it every day, and so much power to that. I know B-Dubs was even telling me lately we've got a lot going on. There's a lot of stressors in my life, and we've got conference coming up. We've got a never growing, expanding sales force that is just doing amazing things. And one of the best practices that B-Dubs has me doing now is when I lay in bed at night and I can't sleep, I'm writing down these thoughts. I'm getting things on paper. I'm using that time to make sure that I'm processing properly. And so tell us a little bit more about the affirmations and what that can do for individuals that might not be doing that just yet.
Well, I'm actually not smart enough to figure out how that works. All I know is that I basically follow the instructions, right? There's tons of books about this. There's, and I follow just speaking them in present tense, like if they already happened. So, as I'm working towards equity partnership, right, I'm grateful that I'm already an equity partner, right? And that I have all these writers that in the organization, and it's just, it's done. And I believe it has just there's a power behind planting those subliminal messages, and in our subconscious, because I'm a firm believer that the subconscious is going to constantly seek a way to make those intangibles become a tangible, right? Become a reality.
I love that, Gus. You know what happens to people that only know how it works? They just do it, and then they make a big impact and a big income. The people that know why it works, we study the people that, are just out there doing it, making a big impact and a big income. So I love really you highlighted the square. If those of you that have been around for a while, if you know our 4 phases, which you really referenced, you really modeled for us, how do you take people around the I do, you watch, I do, you help, you do, I watch, you do, I help. And you made that very, very simple. You sort of like boiled that down in a very simple steps and, showed people how to do that. So that was really, really beneficial for us to put some muscle on that square today.
Yeah, thank you guys for everything. I mean, we were super excited for what is happening to our organization, to the team, because of everything you guys have done and continue to do for us. And our future has never looked brighter. So here's to exponential growth. Thank you.
Nice, Gus.
Thank you so much, Gus, for sharing.
See you, buddy.
Great job, buddy. Gus, you see the guy nonstop on the leaderboards. It was awesome to hear from him for a few minutes, man.
Blowing up,
Gus.
Man, there's a lot of good folks, looks like, on the call. Joined by the advisory board, it looks like.
Right.
Casey, that's you from a long time ago down there in the corner doing the metrics, man.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Remember those days?
The screen. Oh, yeah. Hemis.
Yeah, man. We have a lot of fun stuff to cover today, so why don't we jump right into it? We got some exciting conference announcements. We got words from the advisory board. I think there's even like a top 10 countdown list.
That's right.
On our way.
That's right.
So why don't, to get started, we hit some leaderboards. All right. Me and you today, Casey.
Love it, man.
Me and you.
Like old times.
2 writers. We got week and month stuff going on today. Week and month. Number 1 for the week was Kim Rodriguez with almost $8,000 in premium. And number 1 for the month, first time writer, Louis Delgado, $23,000. Thank you.
Nice.
Got me a little shot of espresso Meredith brought me just to really make sure that we bring the heat today, Casey. It's going to be on you. Top producer for the week, Monique Jaramillo, or Mio, $31,685. That is a huge number. Andre Nero still number 1 for the month, just barely edging out Sean Hogue with $75,229 in premium. Andre, I think you can do 100,000. Sean, I think you can do 100,000. Donna, I think you can do 100,000. We got a 5-week turn in here. Let's go get it. Jen, Gerald, all you gotta do is double up, Gerald. Top app count writer for the week was James Satterfield, and for the month was Holly Allian. 73 applications for the month of June. Robert Glantz was the top Medicare sup writer for the week, $3,600. Katerina Pellegrino, $6,000 for the month of June. Top DI writer was Mark Leach for 1972, and for the month was Brian Howell, $2,268. Top IUL producer for the week was David Anthony, almost 18,000. And Eric Gurr, $55,335 for the month of June, just in IUL production. Erez All, Rocco Pearson, all of those, Devin Fleming and Joshua Key, and man, that's some serious IUL production, guys. That's without doing, I don't think we're doing many IUL leads yet, Casey. They're coming.
Yep.
Top annuity producer was James McRae with 770,000. Joe Martinez with 625 grand. Still a good one. Jen Swigert. The most annuity production that I ever did in a year was about this amount. She did that for the month of June, $2.24 million. That would change some things. As interest rates are going up, guys, if you're not asking the questions to uncover some annuities, shame on you. We do have some help on the way. Top DFL producer was Betsy Barr, no stranger to being at the top. Mike Leidecker with $90,000 in debt-free life production. Bradley Shinovar and Gus Villagran with the top base shop new writers. Top direct new writers was Jacob Pogue. Top SNAs was Jamie Susie with 5. Might be a record for a base shop SNA count for a week. Jacob Pogue with 7. And here they are. Harker, Bowling, Carter, Middleton, Beaufort, Mac, Vanderberg, Brown, Hume, Moreno, Klopp, Starling, Paul McClendon, Edmondson, Sticklin, and Callahan. Big Tommy Callahan. Welcome to the game, William. Well done. Well done. Top key leaders for the week: Kelly Rogers in production, Amanda Lucky in recruits, and Adam Ellison in new writers. For the month, it was Cassandra Mack, a key leader, doing $110,000. Look at Manuel Griola. I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering that, Manuel. Gabrielle and Ike Monello with 14 recruits, and James Larson with 9 new writers, all as key leaders. Top AOs for the week: Sue Adams. Jeffrey Miller is the top recruiter, and Sue Adams had 3 new writers. Was that, yep, by herself there. Jamie Susie, number 1 on the AO board for the month with $262,278. Jeffrey Miller with 41 recruits, and Jamie Susie had 14 first-time new writers. Good looking group of folks here, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
We got to figure out who this mysterious Chad Harrington is. I'd like for everybody in the chat to let us know why we're not willing to put, or why Chad is not willing to put his picture on there. Do you think maybe it's like a witness protection type situation, or he's not really Chad Harrington at all?
Could be.
Could be. Somebody will tell us in the board. And I don't want to hear any nonsense like, oh, they just haven't gotten their picture in yet.
Wasn't Chad Harrington maybe back when we were in school, Brandon, wasn't he like the really good quarterback for the Oregon Ducks?
I think that was Chad Pennington. No, you're thinking of Joey Harrington.
Joey Harrington. There we go.
Yeah.
It's his brother.
Yeah, Pennington was
his brother. That's right, Casey. I think he might have played at Fresno State then.
You think he's worried, like that's why he doesn't like putting his picture up there, is because he's always lived under the shadow of his older brother? And
Did he fumble on the 1 yard line with the game coming to a close? And
That's what it was.
sometimes you got to let the past be the past. Why you got to bring this up? You know?
I don't know. Was
Well-
it like what's the character in Ace Ventura? Finkel,
Finkelstein.
the kicker,
Einhorn.
that missed the last second field goal.
Yeah, that's right.
You got to go laces out. First off, that wasn't Finkel's problem. Wasn't his fault.
Ray
Larry
Finkel, yeah,
Griffin.
Ray.
We need, you know, what we needed today was our stuffed squirrel, like we had in our rocks meetings. We've been in rocks meetings for the last 2 days, and our L10 EOS guru, who is amazing, actually brought in these little figurines so that if you were being a bully, somebody throw a bull at you. If you were beating a dead horse, you had a horse. If you went off on a tangent, you got a squirrel thrown at you. So there were, needless to say, a lot of squirrels being thrown with this group.
Oh, yeah.
Larry
That's
Dan
not
Griffin. There was another one too. I can't remember what it was. Oh, an elephant. The elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room.
That
That came in handy a couple times too.
It did really come in handy. Larry Dan Griffin for the week for recruits as well. Sean Kim with 5 new writers. That picture of Sean Kim just cracks me up every time. He looks like he's maybe a year or two older than Woods. He looks so good. How does he look so young? It's pretty amazing. Looks good. Alvarado, $423,000 for the month. Never Sour Newbauer with 68 recruits. And Sarah Reinecke, she just seems like she really knows how to get people producing. Looks like it's out of place though, because I see Ben Seifapur with 28 and Sarah Reinecke with 25. Both of y'all did an amazing job. That's all I have to say about that. Eileen Balmer, the top rad. Frank Brenaz with 9 recruits and 4 new writers. I like that ratio. Frankie. Eileen Balmer again for the month. Hemi with 49 recruits. And Eileen Balmer had 18 new writers. Top managing vice presidents for the week. Everybody's favorite people, it sounds like, around here these days. Brad and Kira Gainey. Chris Cook with 18 recruits. John Ziller's not talking trash now, is he, Cookie? Look at all the new writers. Cook, Clark, Martin, and Hunt all tied for 2. Well done. Tennessee's used to tying. Excuse me, Marlon Faulkner, $379,000, top MVP for the month. Chris Cook, 149, 149 recruits. Well done, sir. Kyle and Lisa Kimbrell with 211,000, 31 recruits, and 6 writers. Just shy of $1 million for June with 46 recruits and 30 first-time writers. Way to go, Kyle and Lisa. Killing it. Sean Shannon killed it last week on the call. 87,000 in production for the week. Darren Stubbs and Sean tied with 9 recruits. And Sean took the cake, though, for new writers. Miranda Martin for the month, 315,000 with 66 recruits and 10 new writers for Darren and Sean combined. A lot of leaderboards this week. Lynn Watkins, number 1 in APV and recruits with 38. And Ashley and Tyler just continue to spit out new writers. 8 first-time writers. Way to go. 2.5, almost 2.6 million for Lynn. 193 recruits and 49 first-time writers. Easy Eddie Pritchett, $826,000, 62 recruits and 16 writers. For the month, over $4 million. 262 recruits and 88 new writers for Danny Young. Sneaking in there. Way to go. Marshall Whalen looks like he was number 1 for the week with 890, 82 recruits and 20 first-time writers. Leave that up there for a second. Sorry. 3.78 million. So he didn't quite win for the month, but he got him for the week. It's neck and neck, man, every week. 442 recruits and 134 new writers. Well done, everybody. Directs was Pogue, and Pogue for the week. Pogue, and Pogue for the month as well. 1.2 million, 137 recruits, and 53 new writers. Way to go, Jacob. Jacob sent me a great text earlier in the week, Casey. He has found a resource to basically buy Phil Freeze by the truckload. Jacob, send me a text. Actually, Jacob, you're on the call. Unveil real quick. Jacob, how many cases of Phil Freeze did you buy?
Oh my gosh.
This is a big number. This is when you know you're having success in life, when you can afford to do that. He may not be on. I'm not seeing him actually on the.
He's at the lake with Miller and Marshall.
Wow.
I think they're on, but they might be out on the boat, he said. What
He's
a
on
fight.
vacation. Needless to say, it was a truckload. It's as simple as that.
Truckload, wasn't it? Did he tell you? I'll have to dig through my text in a minute and find it, but it was substantial.
Not sure we should be a sponsor yet for Feel Free, but it's trending that direction, right?
They should totally sponsor us.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm still
Hey, here it is. He just sent me a
questioning. I'm still questioning is this long-term going to be good for us?
I question that these days about pretty much anything I put in my body.
I know that's true.
80.
Even these Waterloos, these LaCroix, you got to be careful.
Oh, those are killing you slowly, man. 80 cases.
80 cases. That's like $100,000 worth of Feel Freeze.
80 cases. They at least need to have a testimonial of Jacob up there. I'm sorry, Gus. Eddie beat you out by like $140, man. Not cool. Frank Brenez and then Brad Shinavar with 3. Oh, Gus Villagran also with 3 new writers. Gus took it for the month. Way to go, Gus. And Newbauer took it for the month on the base shop recruiting, and Sarah Reineke took it for the month on new writers. Ooh, everybody's wondering where them leads are. I tell you, man, everybody blew up the BOGO food too, Casey. Like Razor Ridge took more first-time orders on Thursday than they've ever taken in their illustrious 2-month history. And it's only going up from here. 637 A-leads forecasted per week in Mississippi. So if anybody's out there saying, I sure would like more direct mail leads, there you go. Mississippi's your spot. 637 of them. Exciting announcement that we should have made, but we're making it now. I think we did make it last week. From Saturday the 2nd through this Friday the 15th, producers and builders can earn double production for ears, and producers can earn double production for Destination 23. Got to be at conference to go on the destination. Got to be at conference. To get
Right.
those ears.
On Brandon, on ears and O's too. Maybe we can pause for a second, just talk about the awesomeness of the last couple of days in our Rocks meeting. But we are going to be holding a special ears and O's call in 2 weeks, I believe we set it for, Brandon. So you guys will be getting, anyone that has ears and O's will be getting a call reminder for this set up in a couple of weeks. But we just, after coming out of the Rocks meeting, felt like, man, which is always our predicament. How can we articulate how excited we are about what's going on in our company? You know, and without kind of getting in the weeds too much as to the strategy and what we're doing with the masses, you know, how do we kind of, is there a way to kind of give you guys a little dose of even just a little bit of what we're doing right now? And so for all you ears and O's holders out there, we're going to have a special call, and we're going to dig into that in a couple of weeks. So get ready for that. And for those of you who are attending conference, you will also get a good glimpse at what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe a little abbreviated. Maybe we won't let Mark Palmer go too crazy on the whiteboard on the main stage at National Conference, but you will certainly get a taste of why Brandon and I are so excited about what's going on right now. So hang tight.
Yes, put it in your calendars. Don't miss it. If you're an ear or an O winner, receiver, you're definitely going to want to be on that one because it's going to be good. Got the rest of the week to finish out double production too. Jacob says that what normally would have been about $8,000, he bought so much in bulk, it cost a little bit less than $6,000. That's a $6,000 potion budget.
Phil Free is going to get a big hit today of sales. Phil Free, by the way, Linwood was like, what are y'all saying? Is it filled peas? Well, Phil Freeze. It's called Phil Free. It's basically the organic, what we think is organic 5-hour energy drink. You know, it's not caffeine. It's some sort of stimulants that are supposedly natural, but they do work. They'll pep you up a little bit, and they'll get that brain a little sharp.
Kava and kratom.
Kava and kratom. Yeah.
2 fluid ounces.
You know, I don't know if any of you guys follow Ben Greenfield, but he was the person that first turned me on to it. I saw him on Instagram or something like that. And, you know, you got to think somebody like Ben Greenfield, who's supposedly like a health guru, nut, biohacker type guy. So I don't know. I wouldn't go crazy on it like Jacob yet. Maybe just try a half a bottle and see how you like it.
Yeah. And they
don't drink a whole bottle.
Fantastic. They just the best tasting thing you can ever put in your mouth.
You got one on your desk there to show the audience?
Yeah, I just showed them while you were talking.
Okay.
Yep. Feel free. Not field peas. Tomorrow. This is a big one. Mutual of Omaha. what's new, what to look forward to with Mutual of Omaha. I mean, that's going to be a good one. DFLIVIN with Mike Resma on Tuesday as well. And this is probably a Brian Williamson piece here.
Good afternoon. Yes, it is. The right book at the right time can change your life. The right information at the right time can change your life. The right coach at the right time can change your mind. And I'll ditto what you said, Casey. We have an amazing EOS implementer who is also a Symmetry coach, by the way. He's working with some of our people, Tim O'Neill. And so we are continually providing coaching groups that are aligned to your level of leadership and aligned to Summit. And so what we want to just say today to communicate as an update is we have 2 new coaching groups that are launching, and these are for newer agents. This is if you're brand new or you've written at least 6 applications and you're on your way to team leader. We call that whole phase from brand new agent all the way through team leader. We call that our activate phase, simply because the main focus of that phase is you getting activated in the business. So we've developed and are continuing to refine 2 coaching cohorts, we call them. They're just coaching groups. That's what a cohort is. The first one is Sales 101. So if you're a brand new agent working on, I want to start to right out of the gate improve my close ratios and develop sales confidence, that's a great fit for you. And our 10-week challenge is if you've been around for just 6 weeks at least, or sorry, have written 6 apps, which you should do in 6 weeks, our 10-week challenge will be a great fit for you on that. Again, these are proven, research-based, continually refined in high collaboration with us here at corporate. So head into Symmetry Coaching and HQ to learn more. And we'd love to see you head into conference with fresh momentum as we're kind of gearing up for that. So you can dig in there. Let me know if you have any questions.
Yes, sir.
People are loving and getting so much out of these coaching groups. So lean into that.
Yes, they are. All right.